All right. So this is about finding your best fit. This is for agents who are looking for the right team or brokerage to grow with. This is for brokerage owners and team leaders thinking about making sure that they're bringing the right agents into the organization. Bunch of ideas here. I'm going to move really quickly because I think Q&A is the best part. Just by way of a token setup, I'll acknowledge that we all know a good fit when we feel it. We've all, been in a situation and felt some friction initially and it worked itself out. We've also felt some friction and it turned out worse than we expected. So whether it's, if the shoe fits, lock and key, hand in glove. By the way, those gloves will probably be more comfortable a month from now than they are the first day you put them on, right? And, we're looking for that perfect fit of a puzzle piece. It never really happens exactly that way, but I think what I'm going to bring here will send you in that direction. So I'll share with you 3 specific criteria to evaluate to know whether or not you are finding a really, really good fit. I'll give specific steps for agents to take, and of course, specific steps for team leaders and brokerage owners to take. And that asterisk is just to acknowledge that whether or not you are looking to recruit agents as a leader, doesn't matter. You can still do these steps right now. Even if you're an agent who really loves the spot that you're in right now, these are really good exercises to follow. Last thing I would say is that whether you're a leader or an agent, pay attention to the other one's ideas, because this is just 2 sides of the exact same coin. A fit works both ways, not just one way. You're not just looking to work your way into something. You want it to really work for both parties for reasons that should be obvious, but that I'll also explain. Also, my email address is on this slide. It's on a couple of slides. I'd be happy to hear anyone that's on this session. I would love to hear from you directly on anything I'm sharing or anything else you're curious about. If I can help you in any way, I'd be happy to do so. Just by way of introduction, that QR code is just a bunch of places you can go to see some of the work that I've done. I've written a couple books on building human connection across the digital divide. I hosted the Customer Experience podcast for more than 270 episodes in 4.5 years. Customer experience, employee experience, both definitely weigh into this conversation. So that influences what I'll be talking about. Chief Evangelist, Chase, that's a whole separate topic and a whole separate thing. I'd love to share that with anybody. I'm really passionate about it. But the main show that I'm drawing ideas from is Real Estate Team OS, which again is about starting, growing, and optimizing real estate teams. And, 95% of my guests are team leaders or operations leaders, directors of ops, COOs, et cetera. Many of them are on this call with us right now. So the 3 criteria for a best fit, the 3 things to be thinking about, reflecting on, and I'll break these down over the next couple slides. Number 1, culture and values. Number 2, costs and benefits, or more familiarly, splits and services, let's say. And then the third one is standards and accountability. And these all might sound like kind of buzzwords. So I'm just going to rip them down a little bit so they're like obvious and practical. When I'm talking about culture and values, I'm talking at a high level, whether it's documented and you have a mission statement, a vision statement, and core values documented with short descriptions and all that. In general, all I'm talking about here is what are we all doing here? How are we doing it? How aren't we doing it? Why does all of this matter? Right? Like, what do we stand for? What are we about? What are we all doing here together? And then separate but related, what's our client experience? What's it feel like to work with us? And what is our agent and staff experience? What do our clients say about us, whether it's in a review or whether it's more casually and informally or ideally? I mean, we don't really get this feedback, but what are they saying when we're not around about us? That's a reflection of our culture and values, the way that we're living these things out. Same thing with our agents and our staff. And so that's what this zone is. Whether you have it formal and all stitched up, there are cultural components and values that we all recognize within ourselves. And I'll give you a tool to kind of pay even more attention to those shortly. For all of these examples, I'm just going to put some faces up on the screen. That QR code in the top right, when you scan that, the top link is a special document I made just for this presentation. Some of these slides have a lot of words on them. All those words are in the document, so you don't need to write them down. Go get that document. It also jumps into every one of these episodes. So when Emily Wiemert in the middle there is specifically talking about what it means to be a WeMate at Wiemert Group Realty, there's a link in that document that will take you to exactly where she starts talking about that. Same thing with all the other folks on the screen. I guess the only one I'll speak to here to bring it to life a little bit, Abel Gilbert, One Path Realty down in Miami, lists culture as one of the 5 departments of any company. Like, he lists it as a department. He assigned a culture manager when he realized as the team leader that he didn't have enough time and attention to protect and advance the culture the way that he knew he needed and wanted to. He, of course, found this person internally, but assigned a culture manager. So he tells the story of how he found that person and what that role is and why it all matters. So all four of these folks, among many other guests, talk at a great length about how important culture is and what it is in their organization. Number two, costs and benefits. Again, splits is the way a lot of people think about this on its face. And I would encourage you, when you're evaluating a situation, you have to look at it as a cost-benefit analysis. I can't tell you how many times I've seen in a Facebook group or even heard in a conversation, I would never join something for a 50-50 split. That's insane. Like, fine, that might be right for you, but all you're paying attention to is the cost. I guarantee every one of you on this call today has spent $5 on a lunch, $25 on a lunch, and $75 on a lunch. And they all provided different levels of value, and they were all appropriate at the given time. 75 feels a little bit steep for lunch to me, but like you get the point. You can't just look at the cost of something. You have to look at the cost and the benefit. So from an agent perspective, the language, of course, is what do you get and what do you pay for it? From the leader perspective, is what do you provide and what is your cost to provide it? Plus, what kind of margin do you need to include in that to make the model work for you? An agent can always get an air quote better deal. And that's just in quotes, right? Like it's fee only, right? No commit, 100%, you keep it all. But like, what are you getting in exchange for that? And is that what you personally need right now in your business to be your best self and grow your business the way you want to? My guess for most people is actually going to be no. So don't just look at cost and benefit. And another kind of like concept here is that you're in a business partnership. Agents, as you're going out talking to other operations and the leaders of those operations, you're not getting hired. You're not getting hired for this. And leaders, the agent isn't your client or your customer. It may be helpful to think in those terms, but truly, you're both business partners. You're entering into a business partnership. You're both looking to build and grow your businesses together. And so what are the main features of that partnership? And talk openly about those things. Neither party should really have an edge in this situation. It's about finding a fit in this business partnership. With regard to splits and services, Winston Murray and I talked a lot on episode 12 about the 4 times he changed them and the culture shock that it created. And then he shares his exact numbers where he landed. Like, this is what really worked for me and my organization. On the right side there, I did a 9-episode series inside Whistle Realty Group in San Diego and an 8-episode series inside the Lawton team where I talked with multiple team members. And both of those organizations have 4 tiers of essentially splits and services. Lawton calls them level 1, 2, 3, 4. Whistle calls them bronze, silver, gold, platinum. And what happens is as agents get more productive over time, they unlock different things. Now you get access to luxury listings, or you get access to seller leads, or the company gen split goes more into the agent favor, or the self gen split goes even more into the agent's favor. And for the sake of time, these are all linked up. They're all really interesting if you want to know more about cost benefit and how that's working in different organizations. Third one is standards and accountability. The standard is the rule as written. But we all know that the standard is only as good as the enforcement. The real rule is the rule that's tolerated, right? You can write whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. But if there isn't the accountability to close that loop and enforce the rule is whatever happened last time. It's functionally meaningless. And so this is key to making, and the way this matters in terms of fit, it's obviously critical to a high-performing team, but the reason this matters in terms of fit is that an agent needs to be clear within herself or himself what level of freedom, control, and structure you require. Some people are going to do great in a highly structured environment with high standards, a great degree of accountability. This is the tech stack you're using. This is the way that you follow up with this type of lead. This is the way you follow up with that type of lead. This is what we do around here, and we're going to practice it every Tuesday. Other people are like, I'm a loose cannon. I'm going my own way. And I bet some of you team leaders on this call I know Jeffrey has had that person on the team that's like, wow, why can't this person just do what? Because that's not who they are. It's a bad fit. And on the leader side, it's like, what does your model require? When the business is running the way you think you designed it, what types of standards and accountabilities keep it in that zone? And does your team operating system, which includes people, processes, and tech, does that support what the model requires in terms of people adhering to standards and being held accountable for it. Last note here, some agents don't want standards and accountability, even though they probably need it. And some leaders don't provide it, even if they tell you they do rather. They might tell you, oh yeah, we do, absolutely. They might not even provide. So you really got to suss that stuff out. I highlighted these folks for this quick reason. Lori Reeder talks about culture and having cultural standards and cultural accountability. Super interesting conversation right off the top of episode 2. Veronica Figueroa described her team as kind of like the Wild West at one point, and then she shifted to being an organization that was really geared around standards and accountability, and kind of the culture shock that created, and how, you know, some agents didn't like it that much, but it ultimately improved team performance. And then coming soon, episode 59 releases in a couple of weeks. So again, another link through that QR code is that you can subscribe to the show and not miss anything. Antoine Thomas breaks down 3 specific standards on his team. I call them 20, and Tuesday. 20 2-minute conversations every week, 20 closings per year. And a meeting every Tuesday. And if you don't do those things, we're going to have a conversation about whether or not this is the right fit for you. So those are a few standard and accountability ones. So those are the 3 zones. Now, with regard to what do you do about this? So like, okay, I understand that these are like the 3 key elements, but what do I do? So I made up 3 action steps for agents: reflect, sketch, and generate. Reflect, sketch, and generate. Reflect on yourself. I'll get into these in just a minute. Sketch your ideal situation. You know, what do you really need and want from the organization around you? And then generate conversations and bring a specific list of questions to those conversations with team leaders and or brokerage owners. For leaders, same thing: reflect, sketch, generate. Reflect on your business. How did we design this thing? What's going well about it? I'll get into some specific things you can do there. Sketch out your agent avatar. It's just popular language for like an ideal persona, like who's the right agent for this model, this system, this business that we've built. And then generate conversations and have a structure for them so that you're really going apples to apples on each person, and that you're getting what you really need and want out of those conversations. So agents reflecting on yourself. These are just like high level questions. This is just a zone that you could enter into. These aren't, or you could just ask yourself these questions really specifically. Why are you in the business? Like what are you doing in the real estate industry? And what do you want to achieve like long-term? Like what are your goals for the next 12 to 24 months? And more vaguely, you know, what do you want to be doing in 5 to 10 years? Do you want to build a great business where you're closing 20 to 24 deals a year out of your database exclusively? Or do you maybe want to be a team leader in 8 years? Or like, you know, where do you want to go? Reflect on your strengths. And this is the biggest one, I think: strengths and weaknesses. What do you like doing? What do you hate doing? What are you really good at? What are you really fast at? What really like grinds you down? What sucks your energy? Adrian Quijano is part of that Inside Whistle Realty series. And he shared 2 specific things that helped him find Whistle Realty. One was, I grew up in Guam. I landed in San Diego via the US military. I had no network here, so I needed leads, and I needed a lot of leads to get going. That's not totally uncommon, but he was really aware of it. And then the other one was, you know, he came out of software sales business. He was like, I want a really tech forward, progressive organization. So we narrowed that down to 2 brands or brokerages, and then looked at the teams inside those brands and or brokerages, and ended up at Whistle. So, you know, reflect on yourself, be really honest about it. Again, your level for freedom and control. I talked about this on the standards and accountability one. Like, where can you let go and be okay with it? And what do you like? No, I really need to control my tech. Or, I really want to do this my particular way. You got to be honest with that, because it's just going to be a grind for everyone if you have an intense need for control over something that there's already a system designed around. And then, you know, get a reality check from somebody close to you. You have all these ideas, but you're your perfect self in your mind, which is good. It's healthy. But a reality check can also help. And then sketch. What are I won't go through all these. There's too many words on the screen, but like, what are your nice to haves? What are your absolute must haves? And what are your deal breakers? Like, I can't deal with that at all. And this goes all these things are in that document. So you don't need to like screenshot it or anything or write them down, but like, these are all valid things that some companies are providing all of this. Some companies are providing 20% of this, and they're doing it, you know, in different ways, like kind of cost benefit zones. Like, think through this stuff. Another big zone. Are you a team agent or are you a solo agent? You can try both out if you want to. But again, if you have a high degree of control, you really need your face to be on all the stuff. Not that every team requires you to suppress that. Some teams are very actively promoting individual agents, but like just in this zone, like if you want to plug into someone else's system, you're like, I don't want to figure any of this stuff out. I just want to get out there. I want to talk to people. I want to do presentations. I want contracts. I want close. I want to plug in to someone's system that's already done it before. They've got it on lock. They're going to support me every step. That's a team agent. If you're like, I'm my own person, I got to do stuff my way, then solo is probably, so that's like, it's a big zone to figure out for yourself. And then are you an aspiring team leader? Even if it's just a kinda, be open about this. This is part of this process. If that's something you're really curious about, that needs to be part of your conversations with a team leader or a brokerage owner like that, because you can get support for that too, right? It's not like I'm going to do this long and then when I got enough stuff together, I'm going to kind of do my thing. Like, be open about it. Renee Funk, we talk about this. I did a bonus episode with her like around the turn of the calendar year here into 2025. And she talked about how open they are about that in her organization. She has spun out multiple teams and team leaders from the Funk collection. Because it's designed that way, they're just open about it. And so they promote that conversation. And then turn your sketch into specific questions, blend the question type, specific questions. Like, I need this specific question. Do you do this? And if so, how? Situational, like, hey, have you ever faced, or this is something I wonder about, like, have you been in a situation where, and then just wide open questions. Hey, how do you think about this thing? Like, really probe into the leader from multiple perspectives. This next block is kind of a zone, like, who are your top performers? How do you define that? How long have they been there? Are you retaining these folks? Why do they stick around? How long did it take them to become a top performer? Why are they successful here? And are you like the person that they're describing? Here's another kind of like zone of inquiry. Here's my goal for the next, this is where I want to be 18 months from now. How can you help me achieve that? And if they have a good answer, that could be a good thing. If they don't have an answer, it's like, maybe this isn't a good fit. You can have questions proactively or reactively, if you're a productive agent and you're standing out, people are probably reaching out to you to try to have recruiting conversations. You might entertain those. I wouldn't do it unless you're serious about it. But if you are open to them, that's one way to do it. Another way is just to seek it out proactively. Carly Van Dyke, also in that Whistle series, spent 6 months interviewing nearly every single team and brokerage in the San Diego market. 6 months. And she, like, that episode's killer, by the way, if you're interested in that topic. She talks about red flags, like BS that she heard from different people that she sorted through. The main reason I included her here, besides that she covers a lot of ground in that like 30-minute conversation, she knew that it was the right fit when she visited one of the Whistle meetings. She was like, I just knew, like, I'd been in a lot of places. I just knew when I walked in the door and felt the energy that it was what they said it was in the conversations. So like the visit is also a thing too. Ask the questions you need answers to. Don't be bashful. Again, you're not seeking someone's approval or permission to join their organization. You're looking for the right business partner that could sincerely, deeply affect your career. So you want to make sure that that works out in your favor by getting real answers. And then trust your instincts. You're going to know in your gut. Leaders reflect, sketch, generate. Leaders reflect on your mission and values, how hands-on or hands-off you are, and your any other leadership. Be honest about that. Like, are you there every step of the way? Are you responding to calls and texts all the time or not? A super needy agent might be a really bad fit for you, or it might be the kind of person that you thrive in serving and helping. What type of model are you running? I mean, really get clear on this. What kind of leverage are you providing and what kind of costs are associated with that? What's your margin in that? How many agents do you really need? What do you provide? What don't you? Why not? Why do you provide these things? Why don't you provide these things? Why would you join you? If you don't have a good answer, I think you're going to struggle recruiting probably, but like, why would you join you? What's in it for the agent? So be clear on that. What types of agents have been successful and unsuccessful here and why? And if there's an agent who's left that you wish stayed, why did they leave? Right? So in terms of who's been successful and unsuccessful, episode 28 is a super fun episode. It's over an hour long. It's all three of us, me and Jeffrey and Jose. And one of the things that they were kind enough to talk about was when they realized who the successful agents in their organization were and why they were successful. And then they got much clearer about who they were recruiting into that opportunity. And then the 30-day training and 90-day onboarding program, great details on both of those, by the way, in this conversation. And I promise you'll smile at least a handful of times in watching or listening. They designed the system around that and have just been like, turned it into a healthy machine. Sometimes machine is used pejoratively. This one is just really healthy, well-oiled. And then again, as with an agent, getting a reality check from someone close to you, as you're reflecting on what your business really is and what it's about and how you do things, get a reality check from some of the people around you, including your top agents. So let's reflect. Here's sketch. Sketch your profile or persona of the ideal agent, like real characteristics, not just superficial stuff. You could even give it the name of your like absolute best agent. You know, you could actually use their name for this persona. So like, what is that person? A couple like common headlines that you'll hear when you talk to people. Hey, brand new to the industry. That's a persona. A couple years in the business, but nowhere near their goals. That's a persona or an avatar. Experienced, but stuck, plateaued, or burned out. And so Jenny Wiemert on episode 4, they've brought new agents into Wiemert Group Realty, but they've also brought seasoned and experienced agents in, and they're very clear on how and why they do that, what they offer, and how it works. And those are, of course, different conversations. So my kind of call to action on this one with regard to the avatar is turn it into a promise statement. We specialize in agents who are brand new to the industry. We're great for agents who are a couple years in, but nowhere near their goals. Or we're designed to help seasoned agents who are stuck or burned out, right? Or we take agents from here to there. That's what we do around here. That's the system we designed. And I think we can help you do that too. The key here though, is in parentheses, proof of efficacy. You want 2 or 3 examples in your pocket of when you did this thing. You can't just go out and say these things and not be able to back it up. A good agent is going to ask you for that example. And even if she or he doesn't, you should offer it. So you need proof of efficacy that this is what you do. And this reflect and sketch process should generate those. You're going to put faces with some of these ideas, and you should have these agents in mind. So we're almost done here, going to question and answer. Generate conversations and structure. Obviously, you need to know where these people are so you can start having conversations with them. Know what you want to cover. That's, again, this structural element. And also, one of the things I've heard from a lot of team leaders is I always want to hear someone say something like blank, or as soon as I hear someone ask something like blank or say something like blank, I know that they're not going to be a fit. So like, you know, what are your triggers? You probably know them instinctually if you've done a fair amount of recruiting, but be clear on what those are for yourself. Again, this is kind of that 2 sides of the same coin idea I put forth earlier. The same questions that agents should be asking themselves, you can ask those agents. And the same questions that you're answering for yourself, be prepared to answer because they might be clever enough to ask them. And then ultimately, again, trust your instincts. You're going to know, you can't make all your decisions by gut, but I feel like if you go through something like this reflect, sketch, generate process, you're going to be clear enough about who you are, where you want to go, what you're doing on both sides of this relationship to be able to trust your instincts because you've done so much homework. I'll give you, this one's killer. All 3 of these guys on your screen right now, in the first document linked up through the QR code, which has every single word from all these slides on it. All 3 of these guys, you got a jump link to the point in their episode where they tell you exactly how they host their recruiting conversations. They just like, here's what I do. I open it up and I ask them this. And if they say this, then we do this, we do that, we do that. Like all 3 of these guys break down exactly what they're doing, and they've all recruited tons of folks. So last thing, if I was going to do this myself, like if I was an agent or a team leader, I'm neither. I'm just a friend of the industry. I've been serving into this community for about 15 years now. But if I was going to do this, I would time block 15 minutes at the beginning of the week and the end of the week. I'd probably go Monday and Friday, but I included weekend days in case you want to do it that way. Beginning of the week, end of the week. I'd commit to doing this for like 3 to 5 weeks. First thing in the morning is when I would do it. That's when I'm at my best. Monday, what am I looking forward to this week? Like what actually, looking at my calendar, you're probably doing an exercise like this anyway. Do this extra layer of like, what am I psyched about? Like, what am I really looking forward to? Why do I feel that way about it? What do I want to get done? What's it going to take? Do I have what I need? Right? Or not? End of the week, what went well, what went poorly? Why did it go that way? Did I get done what I wanted to? Why or why not? And what's going to happen is if you start open, you just start like with questions like these to guide your own thoughts and like take some notes on it, you're going to start kind of getting into that zone. You're going to get a little bit more comfortable doing it. I'm not a journaler, by the way. So this would be a stretch for me. This is how I would do it. And then I would move into those reflect and sketch questions and slides, or like zones specifically. I would start writing down my reflections on me and my career, or me and my business, depending on whether I'm an agent or a leader. And then I would sketch out my ideal situation, or my agent avatar or avatars in this kind of a structure. By the way, bonus points to Barry Jenkins, your next speaker, who put up a post recently about how he was journaling and fed it into an AI, and it identified themes and trends for him. You could do the same thing here if you got enough in there. But in any case, this is about how I would do those steps. And again, the three big topic areas that run through all those questions I put into reflect, sketch, generate are culture and values, costs and benefits, standards and accountability. When you understand yourself or your business, I'm speaking agent, leader, well enough around these three things, you're going to have much better conversations. You're going to be much more likely to find a really good fit. We already saw Jeffrey. I just want to give a shout out to the other founders of the group that is bringing us all together today with all this great information. All of them have been guests on the show. In addition, a couple of your other speakers have also been guests on the show. Again, Barry's up next. He was kind enough to be on twice. So anyway, if you want to know more about the show, it's all through that link. Again, that document I put together just for this presentation jumps into these topics in those episodes. And again, that's my email address. I'd be happy to hear from anyone on any of these topics or questions anytime.